Welcome to this very special edition of Fork in the Road with Sheree Clark. I'm Michele Brown, and I am going to be your interviewer today. Sheree is going to be our renowned guest, and a lot of you know Sheree Clark as a midlife courage coach. Well, I think it's important to note that she's also owned and managed a very successful ad agency for 25 years. She's an author, a public speaker, and she also hosts a healthy living segment on local TV. Welcome, Sheree. So why do you call yourself a midlife courage coach?
Well, the operative word in my title, Midlife Courage Coach, is definitely courage. And I believe that it takes guts to live the second half of your life for yourself when you live the first half for everybody else.
Yes. So let's talk about courage for a little bit, because to me it all sounds like change. Is that what it is?
It definitely sounds like change, and when you ask the question, you're making it sound like it's scary. And I think that that's the thing. I think that courage and change can often be used as interchangeable terms, and here's why. Because it takes courage to do change. You get comfortable with something, you know it. Let's think about how you even drive to work. You have this route that you take to work, you can do it on autopilot. You know exactly where the lights are, when they're going to change, you know the whole drill. There's a detour, you've got to go a different way. It's change. Nobody likes change. It takes courage to do the big changes in your life. For me, what happened was a little bit over time, I started to feel little senses of dissatisfaction. And the way I addressed it in the beginning was distraction. When I felt myself feeling a little underutilized, a little less satisfied, I found other projects. I wrote a couple books while I owned the advertising agency. That was one way. I took on other projects. I ran for offices in professional associations. I did those kinds of things. And that was great, and that was a nice salve until it wasn't. And then over time, the things that you try to do to adjust and to try to remedy that situation, they're not satisfying enough. So over time, it chips away, and then finally there's the crescendo of, this isn't working and I can't fix it, I've got to tear this down.
Right. What are some of the fears that maybe came up for you?
Oh my gosh, there's all kinds of layers of fears, and they come in waves. So the first fear, I would say, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the first fear for me was a basic one. Am I going to be able to support myself? Will I be able to make a living? Will I be able to do enough to survive? And then the needs kind of go up from there. Will I do enough and still be able to keep face? Will I be able to explain this in a way that doesn't make me sound like I failed? Will I find something that I love as much as I used to love this? So all of those levels of fear come into play. And then the other thing is, what am I going to do next? I'm moving away from something. What am I going toward? So all of those things.
Yeah. So what is it that kind of gave you that courage that you needed in spite of the fears that you were having?
The courage to move forward in spite of the fears was really a result of not being able to survive in the discomfort any longer. So while I would say, well, sure, that takes courage, in a way it didn't. In a way, it had become so uncomfortable, Michele, I had to get out. I couldn't do it anymore.
Choice.
No choice. It was every day was a struggle. And it starts to take its toll on everything, every aspect of life, from your health and the way that you address eating habits, drinking too much, doing things that are destructive, to relationships with others. When you're not happy, your friends don't want to be around you.
Yeah. So you talked about it being a gradual thing, but was there a defining moment that really inspired you to take action on things?
There was absolutely a defining moment. So I mentioned that over time I had become dissatisfied and found little salvations and things that would change. And the moment for me that I knew I couldn't fix it any longer came one morning in church. And it wasn't because the sermon was so moving or because the pastor had such a profound impact on my day. It was because I glanced down at my watch and realized that in less than 24 hours, I had to be back in a situation that the idea of it made me cry. And I knew then that I had to go.
What do you think it is about leaving something, whether it's your home or career or relationship, that is so difficult for a lot of us?
There's lots of levels of what makes it difficult. Some of them are the fears that we've identified, the fear of change and those kinds of things. But the other part is you think about all of the things that you're sacrificing, the things that you're giving up, the things that you're walking away from. So you might be walking away from a title or an identity, a business type of a thing. You might be walking away from security, money, a place to live, social security types of things where everybody knows you as a certain way. And if you're redefining yourself, that's the part that shakes us all to our very souls. But it's also where life lies. It's also where the beauty lies. And so the key is mustering up the energy to get past that hump, because what's on the other side is so much better than you can imagine.
You left a very successful career in a graphics and advertising business after 25 years. How and when did you know that it was time to make a change?
I knew that it was time because the little remedies, the little things that got me through weren't working anymore. I couldn't write another book and be satisfied, and that would make me stay. And I did it 3 times. 3 times that happened, and I was able to survive. I took cooking classes. I went to culinary school. I started flying around the country giving talks and presentations. Those kinds of things were a salve on my wound for a certain period of time. And then when those things didn't work anymore and my remedies started to become a little more self-destructive, again, drinking a little bit too much, doing things that were a little risky, living on the edge, putting things off to the last minute, being not me and not being authentic. And when you realize that you're not you, you can't stay.
Right. So if someone watching wants to make a change, what are some of those first steps that you would recommend to them?
Well, the steps vary with where you are in the process, for sure. But the first thing that I would suggest that anybody do is find a confidant. Find somebody that you can talk to. The process for me of change comes as a slow build. First you think, maybe I need to go, maybe this isn't working, but you don't say it out loud. The second step is you say it out loud to one person, a trusted other, a very close friend, a confidant, a relative, a lover, whoever. And then when you start to say it to more than one person, you've started the momentum, the build, the head of steam is building. And then you'll know that it's time, and then you'll have your courage, and then is when you make your leap.
So what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, what I wanted to be when I grew up, that's a great question. I wanted to be a teacher. And what's funny about you asking that question now is that when I was a little girl, I got the message. I don't know who said the message. I don't remember the day that the message came. But the message was, honey, that's nice you want to be a teacher, but teachers don't make a lot of money. So if you want to be successful in the business world and well regarded by others, you'll go into something that pays a little better. And so I took that advice, whoever gave it, and I went into business. And I liked my time in business, and I was successful, and I made my mark, and I was financially successful. But the teacher in me still wanted to come out. Yeah. And now I'm a coach, a life coach. I teach, I help people to get to where they're going, to learn new things. And so the reason that I love your question is, that's a question I would suggest to everybody. What did you want to be when you were growing up is a defining question, because when you're a kid, you don't have all the coulds and shoulds and woulds and can't and all of the glass ceilings. You know who you are authentically.
What is something that maybe you wished you would have known then that you know now?
I wish I would have known that anything really is possible, that when somebody tells you you can't do something, that take that as the gauntlet. That somebody just made a challenge and now it's your job to get over that hurdle, that you can do whatever you set your mind to.
And do you have any tips or maybe a secret of some sort that helps for getting through the hard times?
Yeah, I do. And again, it varies with where you are on your path. And the confidant one is certainly would be the first thing. Another is to really to use the other people in your circle as sounding boards. Ask them what they think your strengths are. That's one of those questions that takes a lot of courage to ask a friend that. But when you say to a friend, how do you see me? What do you think I'm good at? What do you call on me for? What do you depend on me for? And listen deeply to the answer, because they're holding up a mirror for you. They're telling you what it is that you may not see in yourself. And those kinds of things will help you gain the courage, but also gain the insight that you might have lost sight of because you've become tunnel visioned.
Let's talk about the role that boundaries play in our lives and how they play a part in what it is we're trying to achieve.
Boundaries can be oppressors. Boundaries, and when I say they're oppressors, they oppress other people who want to come in and encroach on your territory. I think it's essential that we have boundaries, people that we don't let into our viewpoint, that we don't let mess with our space. Someone that tells you you can't do something is setting a boundary that you need to knock down.
What are some of the other things that maybe get in the way of what it is that we're all wanting?
As women, I think stepping back and putting everybody else first. I see it oftentimes. I have many friends who raise children, their mothers, they put their kids first. I understand that. But there comes a certain point when maybe the child's need doesn't need to come first. Or maybe the boss needs to be told, yes, I'm willing to complete that project, but I can't stay late tonight to do it because there's something else that's important to me. So those are the kinds of things that I think that they become creepers. You say yes one too many times, and before you know it, nobody's even asking.
Is there ever a time that you still feel afraid?
Oh yeah, of course. The things that I'm fearful of are anything new, anything that I'm not sure I can excel at. I like to excel. I like to be good at things. I want to be the expert, the go-to girl. I think most of us want to be good at what we do, and when you try something new for the first time, it's difficult. It's hard to have a beginner's mind. It's hard to try a new yoga pose. It's hard to do a new skill, try a new kind of art. Those things scare me, and that's how I know I'm alive.
What do you say to the person that, they know they need to make a change, but they're saying it's just not the right time?
Oh my gosh. Oh, Michelle, that's the thing. If you want to set me off, that's the thing. The timing is never right. When is the timing right to fall in love? You were going to go for a promotion and now you're going to move. When's the time right to get pregnant? To be in a car accident? To have a great opportunity for a promotion when something else was going to happen? When is it the timing right for anything in our lives? The time is right when the opportunity presents itself. And sometimes it might take a little juggling and rearranging, but do it. There's nothing in my life that I've regretted doing. There's things that I've regretted not doing.
What about those people that say, I've done all the work?
Oh, oh, I know a few people like that. Yeah, I've worked on myself. I'm done now. I don't know that I really want to think about anybody being done with the work. There's always more to uncover, always more to unearth.
So what advice do you have for women out there that they're feeling those same stirrings and that they need to make a change, but they're really not sure what maybe that change is or how to gather up the courage and the strength that you've been talking about?
Do one thing today, one thing. It could be look up a phone number. It could be make an appointment. It could be tell a trusted friend. It could be any one single act. Do one thing today that will get you closer to what it is you think you want next.
Thank you. Great information as always. And if you want to learn more about Sheree Clark and Fork in the Road, I encourage you to visit her at fork-road.com.